Some people go through life feeling an unexplainable sense of purpose, as if they are being guided by something greater. Have you ever felt like you were different from those around you? Like certain situations, people, or even opportunities were being removed from your path, not by chance, but for a reason? The truth is, God has always separated His chosen ones. They may not realize it at first, but their lives follow a pattern of divine intervention. They experience moments of supernatural protection, deep spiritual awareness, and powerful transformations. And if you are noticing these signs, you might be one of them. These signals are subtle, yet undeniable. Some feel a sudden discomfort in places they once enjoyed, others witness unexpected deliverances from danger, and many go through an intense spiritual awakening. But here's the secret: not everyone will see these things, because they are reserved for those with a calling. What if everything you've been experiencing is not a coincidence, but a message from God? What if these feelings, dreams, and insights are part of a much bigger plan? The world may ignore these signs, but those who are chosen will recognize them. Are you ready to understand if you are under divine protection? If these things are happening to you, God might be revealing something that will change your life forever. One of the clearest signs of being under divine protection is an increased spiritual sensitivity. Those who are chosen often experience strong intuitions, unexplained gut feelings, and an inner voice guiding them. Have you ever felt a sudden urge to avoid a place, delay a trip, or stay away from someone, only to later realize that something bad happened there? This is not just coincidence. It is a supernatural sign of guidance. People under divine protection see patterns that others miss. Recurring numbers, dreams with deep meaning, or even unexpected encounters with certain scriptures can be ways that God communicates. These moments often feel like more than mere chance. They carry a weight of purpose, a hidden message for those who are willing to listen. Another sign is the ability to sense energy shifts in people and places. You may enter a room and feel an immediate sense of peace or, on the contrary, an unexplained discomfort. These impressions are not random. They are spiritual warnings or confirmations. The chosen ones develop a natural ability to discern what is unseen, knowing when to move forward and when to step back. Over time, this heightened sensitivity refines decision-making and deepens faith. The more a person recognizes these divine nudges, the clearer they become. It is as if a protective force is always a step ahead, preparing the way and shielding from unseen dangers. But this awareness also comes with responsibility. It must be nurtured through prayer, meditation, and a constant pursuit of spiritual wisdom. Those who have been chosen do not navigate life blindly. They walk with an unseen hand guiding them, perceiving the signs that others overlook. If you have felt this inner knowing, if you have experienced moments where something beyond logic directed you, you are not imagining it. God is revealing something to you. One of the most undeniable signs of divine protection is the way toxic people naturally distance themselves from your life. When someone is under God's favor, their energy shifts, and this creates an invisible barrier that repels negativity. Have you noticed how some people suddenly stop talking to you, fade from your life, or even turn against you for no clear reason? This is not rejection. It is divine separation. Negative influences, toxic friendships, and manipulative people cannot coexist with those chosen for a higher purpose. It is as if a spiritual force begins removing anything that could delay your growth. Sometimes this might feel lonely, but in reality, it is a divine filter. Only those who align with God's plan for your life will remain. At times, this process can be painful. You may wonder why certain relationships fell apart, or why people you trusted changed overnight. But in reality, this is protection. If you could see the battles happening in the spiritual realm, you would understand that some people were only meant to be in your life for a season. When God removes someone from your path, trust the process. Many chosen ones try to hold on to what God is trying to take away, which only leads to unnecessary struggles. Instead of questioning why certain people left, focus on who is still standing beside you. Those who remain are aligned with your mission and purpose. If you've experienced this, if people who drained your energy or pulled you away from your faith have disappeared from your life, this is a sign that God's hand is at work. Separation is not always a loss. Sometimes it is the greatest form of protection. One of the most powerful signs that a person is under divine protection is the ability to experience unshakable peace, even in the middle of chaos. When God chooses someone, He places within them a deep sense of security and trust that goes beyond human understanding. Have you ever gone through a difficult situation and, despite everything, felt a strange calmness, as if you knew things would work out? That is a sign of God's presence. This peace is not tied to circumstances. While the world teaches that peace comes from having everything under control, God's peace operates in the opposite way. It is strongest when logic says you should be afraid. Many chosen ones face hardships, betrayals, financial struggles, or loneliness, yet they do not break. There is an unseen force holding them together, guiding them through every storm. People around you may not understand this. They may even think you are too calm in situations where most would panic. But this is not denial. It is divine assurance. This type of peace is evidence that God is walking with you, keeping you grounded when everything around you seems uncertain. It is a supernatural stability that confuses those who rely only on human strength. This doesn't mean chosen ones never struggle with fear or doubt, but they overcome it faster. They know that fear is temporary, but faith is permanent. When anxious thoughts try to take over, they remind themselves of one truth: God is still in control. And because of this, they rest in His promises instead of drowning in their worries. If you have ever felt a peace that made no sense, a certainty that everything would be fine even when reality said otherwise, this is a sign of divine favor. It is God whispering to your soul, "I am here. I am with you. Do not be afraid." A clear sign that someone is under divine protection is the rapid growth of spiritual wisdom. Those chosen by God often experience deep insights and revelations, even without formal religious training. Have you ever felt that you understand things on a different level, noticing hidden truths that others overlook? This is not just intelligence. It is discernment given by the Spirit. Many people spend years trying to understand the meaning of life, but chosen ones receive clarity much faster. They see through false teachings, empty traditions, and deceptive appearances. Their minds become sharper, allowing them to distinguish truth from deception. It is as if a veil has been lifted, giving them a deeper awareness of what is really happening in the world around them. This wisdom also affects how they handle challenges. Instead of reacting emotionally, they develop a sense of patience and control. They don't fall into unnecessary arguments or waste time trying to prove themselves to people who will never understand. Instead, they choose their battles wisely, speaking only when their words serve a purpose. But with this wisdom comes greater responsibility. Many chosen ones feel isolated because their way of thinking no longer aligns with the majority. They may struggle to connect with old friends who remain attached to worldly distractions. Yet, this separation is necessary, because when God calls someone to a higher purpose, He also refines their mind and spirit. If you've been experiencing a rapid increase in understanding, a deeper hunger for truth, or a sense that you see beyond the surface, this is a strong sign that God is working in you. Your perspective is shifting, your knowledge is expanding, and whether you realize it or not, you are being prepared for something greater. One of the most undeniable transformations that happen to those under divine protection is an increased ability to discern between good and evil. It's like a spiritual radar that suddenly becomes more sensitive. Have you noticed that things that once seemed harmless now make you uncomfortable? Movies, music, conversations, or even certain people's energy. You can feel when something is not right. This is not paranoia. It is a spiritual awakening. When God chooses someone, He sharpens their ability to see beyond appearances. People under divine guidance start to recognize hidden agendas, manipulation, and even spiritual traps. They no longer ignore red flags, and they stop justifying behaviors that go against their faith. This awareness affects decisions in ways that others may not understand. The chosen ones begin to avoid places that once entertained them, conversations that used to be normal, and even habits they never questioned before. What once felt comfortable now feels toxic. And while this shift might create distance between them and certain people, it is proof that their spirit is being refined. The downside? It can feel isolating. When someone starts seeing the truth, they realize that many around them are still blind to it. Some may even mock this change, calling it too extreme or unnecessary. But those who have been given the gift of discernment know that ignoring these warnings leads to consequences. If you've noticed yourself becoming more aware of spiritual influences, more selective about your surroundings, and less tolerant of things that don't align with God's truth, you are not imagining it. This is divine protection at work. God is training you, separating you, and preparing you for a level of spiritual clarity that few will ever reach. Have you ever experienced a last-minute change of plans that saved you from a bad situation? Or maybe you were delayed for no reason, only to later realize that it kept you from being in harm's way? These are not coincidences. They are divine interventions, signs of God's unseen protection over your life. Chosen ones often find themselves escaping dangers they didn't even know existed. Maybe you avoided a car accident because of a small delay, or a sudden feeling of discomfort kept you from entering a certain place. Many times, these moments seem trivial, until you look back and realize they were actually supernatural deliverances. This protection is not always obvious. Sometimes, what seems like a rejection, a lost opportunity, or an unexpected detour is actually God blocking something harmful. Many people get frustrated when their plans don't go as expected, but later, they understand that God was redirecting them to something better, or keeping them from unseen harm. People under divine protection often sense when something is wrong before it happens. They feel an inner nudge, a strong intuition, or even physical discomfort when heading into dangerous situations. They may not understand it at the time, but later, the truth becomes clear. God was guiding them away from danger. If you have ever looked back and realized that something saved you from harm, know this: you were not lucky, you were protected. Divine intervention is not always loud or obvious, but it is always present. Those who are chosen experience these deliverances because God has a greater plan for their lives. Those who are chosen by God often experience intense spiritual battles, but they also witness victories that seem impossible by human standards. These victories are not always physical. They happen in the mind, emotions, and spirit. Have you ever felt an unexplainable sense of relief after struggling with doubt, fear, or temptation? That moment of peace was not random. It was a sign that you overcame a spiritual battle. Spiritual warfare is real, and chosen ones are prime targets. The enemy tries to break them with discouragement, fear, and confusion. But those who are protected by God begin to notice that, even in the worst moments, they always find a way to rise again. They feel exhausted, yet they refuse to give up. Something inside them pushes forward, even when they don't fully understand how. This doesn't mean battles disappear, but it means they no longer fight alone. When God is present, people notice that problems that once seemed overwhelming no longer have the same effect. Stress doesn't consume them as it did before. Fear loses its grip, and what once felt like a heavy burden now becomes easier to carry. That is divine strength at work. Many chosen ones also notice an increase in resistance to temptation. Things that once had power over them start to lose their influence. They realize that old habits, destructive cycles, and unhealthy relationships no longer have the same pull. They are not the same person they used to be. If you have faced intense struggles but somehow always come out stronger, if you have noticed that what once defeated you no longer has power over you, then you are witnessing victories in the spiritual realm. These battles are real, but so is God's protection. And when He fights for you, you will never be defeated. One of the most undeniable signs that someone is under divine protection is a complete transformation of their inner world. This change is not forced. It happens naturally. Have you noticed that things you once enjoyed no longer interest you? Have you felt a growing desire to seek God, understand His Word, and live differently? That's not random. It's a sign of divine refinement. When God is working in someone's life, their desires start to shift. Things that once brought temporary pleasure now feel empty. They begin to crave peace instead of drama, wisdom instead of empty entertainment, and purpose instead of meaningless distractions. This change confuses many because it happens from the inside out. This transformation also affects behavior and mindset. Many chosen ones stop reacting impulsively, choosing patience instead of frustration, forgiveness instead of resentment, and faith instead of fear. Their thoughts become clearer, and their emotions become more balanced. It is as if their soul is finally aligned with something greater. But transformation is not always easy. It often comes with the breaking of old habits, distancing from certain people, and stepping into the unknown. Some may even resist at first, fearing what they might lose. But with time, they realize that nothing they let go of compares to what they are gaining: peace, clarity, and a deeper connection with God. If you have felt a shift inside you, if your priorities, emotions, and desires are no longer the same, know this: you are being transformed, renewed, and prepared for something greater. This is not the end of your journey. It's just the beginning of a new, stronger, and more awakened version of you. If you've recognized these signs in your life, then you are not alone. God has been guiding and protecting you all along. These are not random experiences. They are evidence that you have a divine purpose and that He is shaping you for something greater. Now that you understand the signs, what will you do with this knowledge? Being chosen is not just about receiving protection. It is about stepping into the responsibility of your calling. Will you embrace the path God is setting before you, or will you ignore the signs and remain where you are? Many people go through life without ever realizing that God has been speaking to them. But those who truly listen, those who recognize the signals, will experience transformation beyond anything they imagined. What if this moment was meant to awaken something inside you? What if now is the time to align yourself with God's plan and walk with clarity, strength, and purpose? If this message spoke to you, make sure to subscribe and activate notifications, because here we reveal the hidden truths that many ignore. Stay connected, because what you learn next might change everything.